We are in week 6 of our journey on this book called Let Them by Mel Robbins. We have been going through this experience week by week and really looking and diving into each chapter and each section to see how that can relate to us and how we can use this as a part of our spiritual practice. Let them, for me, is that idea of non-resistance, of not getting attached or hooked to all of those things in life that happen and all of those people in life that push my buttons. You're letting them, and you're letting you. You're letting you be your better self. You're letting you express your authentic self. What happens when they don't listen to your authentic self? What happens when they don't take your sage advice? I'm being let them. I'm being my higher self. Everyone should be listening to me now because I clearly know what I'm talking about. So what do we do when that happens? We get offended, or you're on the list, Whitfield. Or we let them. We let them. It's okay, because there will be times when people don't agree with us, yes? I know it's shocking, especially when we're being our highest self. I can't be wrong in that standpoint. So we're in the section where we were going to start looking at how can we motivate someone else, and how can we support people that are struggling. So the first thing I want to do is talk about this word motivation. We had a great discussion about this in one of our groups. The question was, what is the difference between motivation and manipulation? Yeah, no one wants to be manipulated, do they? We don't like that and we feel it when we're being manipulated. It feels awful. But then there's motivation. And motivation is similar in that we're trying to get somebody to do something, and we're using either a carrot or a stick. We're motivating them with bonuses, or we're threatening them with a stick with being fired. And we do that with ourselves. We motivate ourselves. If I stick with this, I'm going to take some time and I'll do something that I like to do. If I stick to my diet, then I get to eat that cheesecake at the end of the week, or whatever that is. None of that's bad. It's just not always very effective. Motivation tends to be very short term. Motivation tends to get us going in the moment, either running from that stick or running towards that cheesecake. If it's really good cheesecake, though, I'll tell you. But motivation is really short term, and the reason it doesn't have long-term effect is that we're not really into it. We don't really want to do it. And that's really the difference. So what I like to look at instead of motivation is the idea of inspiration. Because motivation comes from the brain, right? We have these things that we know that we're supposed to do, and then if we do them, we get some things, and intellectually we have an experience of it. But inspiration really comes from the heart. Inspiration comes from that idea that this is something that I'm really resolved in, that I'm really excited about, that I really want to make this change or do this thing. How can I be more inspiring? And what's my intention when I'm talking with someone else or when I'm working with situations in life? When they don't take our authentic voice, we tend to blame them. I'm attached to being right. It's ego saying, I'm bruised because I wasn't heard. And the reality is you may have been clearly heard, they just don't agree with you. What we get to realize is that by looking at it from that perspective, we can shift our mind around it and shift how we're looking around it and look at it more from inspiration. The difference between the carrot and the stick manipulation and offering something without attachments. It's the difference between being curious or trying to be controlling. It's the difference between modeling that divine nature within you or rewarding somebody for the actions and behaviors that they're doing. And so inspiration comes from a completely different place within us. It comes from the heart. People only change when they feel like changing, and that's the hard part. People only change when they feel like changing. Mel says this: the reality is people only change when they feel like changing. It doesn't matter how much you want someone to change. It doesn't matter how valid your reasons are, or that you are right in your opinion that they should change, or how big the consequences are if they don't change. If somebody doesn't feel like changing, they won't. And worse, when you pressure someone to change, it only creates more tension, more resentment, more distance in your relationship. When we're working with somebody who has a different opinion, who isn't agreeing with you, the more we push, the more we pressure, the less likely they are to do anything about it. That struggle within us is that part of us that is wanting them to change. And that's where our suffering comes in. Because it isn't the struggle that's the problem. It's the story that we attach to that struggle. We all have struggles in life, yes? We all know people who have struggles in life. And struggles aren't bad. Struggles are how we grow. Struggles are how we spiritually evolve. When we lean into the struggle and realize that this is an opportunity for me to sink deeper into spirit, to sink deeper into my sense of oneness, to allow that energy to flow within me as I move through it, when we come out the other side, we feel and have a greater sense of self. We have a greater sense of accomplishment. Our suffering comes from our stories about that struggle. Struggles are a natural part of life, but our suffering is optional. It reminds me of the story of Jacob wrestling with the angel. And after Jacob wrestles with the angel, he wrestles all night long with him. He's got him in a headlock, and he says, I'm not letting you go until you bless me. And the angel says, what is your name? My name is Jacob. Well, from now forward, your name is now Israel. And the story here is an allegory that's talking about Jacob wrestling with himself. It's Jacob, the sense of who he is now, wrestling with who he can become, that better half, that higher self. And that's what we go through with spiritual growth. We wrestle with ourselves. We wrestle with this idea that I'm one with the allness of life. I'm one with God. Well, if I'm one with God, how can I express that and experience that more? How can I live into that more? And we wrestle with that. See, that struggle is how we grow. Now, if we have a story about it, saying, well, I should do something different, or I should be better, or they should be better, we get stuck. And that creates our suffering. It reminds me of Psalm chapter 23. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadows, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. When we recognize our own struggles, it's like walking through that valley of the shadows. It can be difficult. It can be hard. But when we recognize that this is just the journey, and at the other side of the journey is sunshine and a beautiful view. The challenge is we tend to get stuck in the shadow, in the valley. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadows, that's the key word, through, because most of us stop. We get stuck. We go through the very dark part, and then it's a little less dark, and we say, okay, let's take a breather here. Let's just pause for a moment. And pretty soon we've built a log cabin, we have a hot tub, we're inviting people over. We're like, I'm done with the spiritual growth stuff. This is it, right? I'm sticking with this. And then we stick in our shadow, and all of the suffering, all of the stories, that just becomes part of life. It becomes part of our narrative. And we start talking about that, instead of really talking about the idea that you are created in the image and likeness of God, that you are divine in nature. You are fully human, and you are fully divine. That within you is that divinity seeking to express itself just a little more fully. Those struggles that we have with ourselves, like Jacob wrestling the angel, that's us wrestling with that better self of us, trying to be birthed, trying to come to light. It's yearning to come out. And when we wrestle with it and hold on to it and demand a blessing, did you notice that? Jacob demanded a blessing. When we demand that blessing appears. And so we can move into that experience of our struggles with a new light and a new lens, looking at it from a different perspective, that I am here to grow spiritually. And if I keep going, if I have resolve like Jacob, if I have the devotion and dedication like Jacob, if I just kept moving and wrestling with it, I will get my blessing. I will move through it. I will come out on the other side. And just the wonderful thing about noticing when you are stuck is there's your opportunity. It's that part of that's within you saying, I'm still here. Keep going. This divine self, this light within you is saying, I'm still here. Keep going. Keep being that blessing. Keep showing up. Keep wrestling with it. And if we don't attach the stories to it, then it won't feel like suffering as much. We will relieve ourselves and let go of the suffering and allow ourselves to move through it. We need to identify first within us the struggle. So when we're in relationship and we have struggles, the holidays are coming. What happens in the holidays? Families, more stress, more crowds, more traffic. We tend to get a little anxious around it. And sometimes there are relationships where it feels like there's suffering. If we can first get clear with ourselves, where's my suffering? Where's my struggle? How can I let go of the suffering and really wrestle with me being just a little bit better? If I can focus on that, then whatever relationship I have can be that much more effective. However I communicate will be that much more effective. How I show up will be that much more better. Now, when you have this relationship and you're in communication, Mel gives us a tool to help us work through this, because sometimes, especially in the holidays, there might be a little struggle between two people. Mel gives us a formula. It's very complex. Are you ready? ABC. A, apologize. Take a deep breath. When you're in a situation and you're in a conflict, an apology isn't necessarily admittance. It isn't saying I'm wrong per se. I can apologize for the situation. I can apologize for the miscommunication, or at least my part of it. I can apologize for whatever struggle that we're having here for my part of it. And I'd like to know a little bit more about the struggle. It's not saying I'm sorry. That's a different dialogue altogether. I apologize for what's happening, and I'd like to know more. It makes us curious. It opens our mind and opens ourselves to each other. So we apologize and we ask an open-ended question. An open-ended question, and then we listen for understanding. So an apology can be taking accountability for your side of the equation, being above the line, so to speak, in accountability. I'm apologizing. I'm not sharing my opinions or my feelings. I'm just saying, here's my part of it. And then we listen for understanding. Now, if you're listening, because here's what ego does. Are you ready? If you're listening for your turn, if you're listening so that you can get in your side of the story, you're not listening with intention. You're not listening to understand. And you're not authentic in your apology. So it's kind of like what Tiffany and I used to call bunkering, right? I'm in my bunker, she's in her bunker, and we're just waiting with a hand grenade. You go ahead first. So it's asking an open-ended question and listening with curiosity for understanding, to understand where they are coming from, to understand who they are. We're not there to make them, we work with them by being willing, by being accountable, and by being generous with our thoughts and our words and our actions, by being generous with how we think about them and how we're listening to them. That's A. B, back off. Once you apologize and ask your question, step back and let them be. Let them say what they're going to say. And if you're letting them and letting you be grounded in your spiritual truth, being grounded in that idea that you are the I am in you, that you are that higher consciousness, that you're a better self, you're not getting hooked into it. Be aware of being hooked and unhook yourself. Just allow them to express themselves. Don't expect them to leap into action. Focus on letting them and you being present, open, and curious. Present, open, and curious. And as you proceed in that manner, you have the opportunity for a more open dialogue. Now, the C component says celebrate. Celebrate any progress that you see. Any little progress, like, oh, that was something I hadn't heard before. Thank you for sharing that with me. Celebrate any progress that you see within them and within you. Celebrate the fact that I didn't get hooked, or at least I saw that I was getting hooked and I didn't react. Celebrate that. And I'll tell you, celebration is how we anchor these things within us. We allow that energy to say, yes, I did it. And that creates the neural pathway, that strengthens the habit within us, that puts us in alignment with that divine essence between the two of us. Celebrate for you and for them. Now, what happens if that doesn't work? Because sometimes it doesn't work. You start over? Yeah. You can take a break. You can go back and center yourself. And you can know that you showed up as your highest self possible in that moment. That you showed up with love in your heart. We got away from the carrot and the stick and we're getting back to the heart. If I can hold myself with love and I can hold them in the field of love even when we're having this difficult conversation. And there are times when people just won't listen. Right? There are people in our lives when we want to give them advice, when we want to share with them, here's what will be healthy, here's what you need to do. We all have those people, right? And they hear it, but they don't always listen to us. Or they placate us, yes, 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 I know. But you see, all of the things when we're talking with people about, here's what you should do, right? Here's what you need to get into rehab. You need to, go to your PT. You need to go you need to stop eating. You need to stop arguing. You need to do this, you do that. All that's right and true, but it's all intellectual. And we all know it's true. But until we get to the heart, they're not going to want to. Until we get to the heart, I'm not going to want to. This works with you, yourself, and with other people. Get to the heart. Stop giving advice. If they ask for it, give it. And then let them. It's up to them. They have to be the ones to walk through the valley of the shadow, or they will never get out. They have to be the ones that take the initiative to do the healing, or they will never get out. Mel says, remember, people only change when they want to. Sometimes reclaiming your power means not fixing everyone else's problems or making excuses for them. You must be very clear upon your conditions when you're giving support. Communicate. And what people really need is to know that they are being seen and heard. I believe in your ability to face this. I believe in your ability to move through this and get better and stronger and happier. And do it not because you're expecting a thank you. Do it because it makes you feel good about yourself, showing up for other people with love. Instead of using the carrot and the stick, use love. Use that energy of love, that holding them and knowing their divinity. That's the whole point of affirmative prayer. Affirmative prayer is a consciousness of knowing our oneness with God. And therefore that consciousness is continual, can be every moment of the day. And that's what is meant by we pray ceasingly, because we always know our oneness with God. And when with someone else can't, we know that for them. And we affirm, I believe in you. I believe in your ability to move through this with ease and grace. I believe that you can move through this valley and through this struggle and come out of it the other side. That is speaking to the heart. And that's what people are really looking for, is someone who believes in them. Then you have to let them. And sometimes they will, and sometimes they won't. And what we're doing is planting seeds along the way and nurturing those seeds and nurturing them, nurturing their hearts. Let's move to our affirmation. I am accepting of others. I hold them in the energy of love. I am clear on my boundaries, and I model spiritual strength and healthy behaviors.